let me go ahead and get started. What I start with is the practice marketing program. What does a practice actually do in order to get that call into the office? Well, they advertise. They've got their radio, their television, their billboards, their magazines, their newspapers, their value packs, living social, coupons, all that stuff. And it's not just a matter of putting those together. The TV commercials are either shot on site, which basically takes the practice down, or they're shot in a green room. You got your radio, it takes time and energy. The billboards, it's the design. The newspaper ads have to be designed. So there's a lot of time and energy that goes into that advertising. Internet. Most practices have designed a website to have it up and running. They may be doing a pay-per-click program where they're actually paying per click. SEO, search engine optimization, they're spending money month in and month out to generate leads coming to their practice. They've got directories similar to PracticeDock. They've got Google Ads, social media, that could be their Facebook pages, their LinkedIn pages, their Pinterest, goes on and on and on. There's blogs. All that takes time, energy, and money. Then they've got the brick and mortar. Now, whether it's an individual doctor in an individual practice or a group of doctors in a practice, they've got to decorate the rooms so that it actually looks appealing. They got furniture and fixtures to deal with. There's curb appeal, the shrubs, the brush, all that stuff, the outside paint. The doctors bought the latest equipment. I was at a LASIK surgeon a few years back. The LASIK piece of equipment he purchased was $1.3 million. He said he's got to have that thing running 20 hours a week to pay for itself. Signage, it just goes on and on and on. Ultimately, there's thousands and thousands of dollars spent, all for the purpose of generating a lead that may or may not turn into a patient. Now, after the practice or the individual doctor has gone through this, this is what they get to hear.
Hello?
Hello, is this the doctor's office?
Yes, it is.
This is the doctor's office.
Yes, this is PracticeDock office. Can you hold on a second?
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. What can I help you with?
I want to get some information on my section. Can you tell me how much it is?
Well, that's going to depend on the areas that you want to have done. Hold on one second. Let me get you done. Okay, got my sheet here. Thanks for holding. It's going to be 25, starting around 45.
25?
Yeah, it starts at 2,500 and then it can go up to 8,500.
Okay, thank you.
Well, you can go to our website if you want to get some more information. And the first consultation is complimentary if you want to give it a try. Hello? Hello? I guess you're not. Bye.
Now, that is painful for that doctor or that practice that just spent all that money to have an incoming call, an inquiry about what they do get handled like that. Like I said, that's an actual call. We recorded it. We went ahead and re-recorded it. But now I shortened down the hold time. The hold time on that, the first hold was over 1.5 minutes long. And a poor patient, potential patient, sitting on the phone waiting. We shortened it up for this version. Here's another call that we took recently. And you just have to hear how these patients are being dealt with.
Hello, Mojo Medical.
Hi, I was wondering how much it was for augmentation.
Breast augmentation, that's going to depend. Do you want to get saline or silicone?
I'm not sure. I think I want silicone, but I really don't know.
Okay, well, the price is going to be from $5,800 up to $6,400, and that's going to include the doctor fee, the hospital fee, and anesthesia.
Okay, how much is left in my list for the month? Can I come back for the appointment?
Sure, the consult for free.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure thing. Bye-bye.
There's so much stuff that you can see why we changed the names to protect the guilty. None of us want to believe that any of our calls are handled that way. You would be surprised the amount of calls with our client base, over 98% of our client base uses our call tracking product. So we listen to calls from all of our practices. And even the ones that tell us that their practice does a great job, we can find calls like this. Now, what you have to remember is the marketing that you're doing, and it's not just the PracticeDock marketing. All the advertising, all the internet, all the brick and mortar is all designed to bring people in. The marketing is or are the things that get the phone to ring, to get you the incoming emails, or to get the door open. Once there's human interaction, marketing is done, and it's done its job. And that's where sales begins. Now, I know we don't want to think that the person on the phone is in sales, but in reality, these are some things we have to look at. Who in the office is actually taking the incoming calls? The challenge here is many times the person answering the calls is not the person in charge of understanding the value of each call and how much work went into getting that phone to ring. In some cases, they may be the least paid employee on staff, and they're one of the biggest, and they have one of the biggest responsibilities as the first point of contact with practice. Have they been trained on how to handle incoming calls? As the frontline person for the practice and the practice's reputation, they are the first face for the patient. Are they trained for the task? Have we taken the time to make sure that whoever's answering the phone is trained for that particular task? Has anyone explained the value of each incoming call? Do the people answering the phone know how much the practice has spent to get the phone to ring, and how important it is to handle them properly? In many cases, that's not the case. Are your phones being answered in a manner that you personally would like to be treated? Now, if we all got truthful about our phones and how they're answered, in most practices, they all could use some degree of improvement. Think about this. Think about calling the IRS and the long hold times and how you're treated. Is that how you want to be treated? In most cases, that's not, you don't want to be treated that way. But is that how your patient is being treated, or your potential patient? Do you, another thing here, and people don't realize it, communication consists of 55% the physiology, 38% the tonality, and only 7% of our communication is actual words. This is through neuro-linguistic programming. The problem is you don't have physiology over the phone. Without physiology, 87% of communication at that point is your tonality, and 13% of it is the actual words. The tone, one of the best examples of tone that I can have is I used to train for the American Institute of Banking, Customer Service, and Consumer Lending at the University of Florida back in the mid-'80s. It was just amazing to me. You could tell who was looking at that particular job as a career as opposed to someone that was looking at it as a job. Are the people answering the phone answering it as this is my job, or are they answering the phone as this is my career and I am perfecting my career? Do you have a call tracking tool, some sort of tool that records the incoming calls and uses them for additional training? Most people will do exactly what they've been taught in front of the doctor or in front of the person that actually taught them, the practice manager. But what's going on when you're not standing over their shoulder? For the doctors that are on, when you're back in the back performing surgery, how are the calls being handled up front? For practice managers, when you're doing something else and aren't in front of the phone, how's that call being handled? Call tracking will allow the calls to be reviewed, okay? They can be used for training purposes, and they're even backup if someone is unclear about some information that was on the call, you can play the call back and get the information. Maybe the phone number got garbled. Maybe the email address wasn't clear. You can replay it. You can adjust the volumes, et cetera, to actually gather that information. The practices that go in and listen to their calls, it's amazing. I've got doctors that will go in and listen to the calls periodically. They're constantly tweaking what the front office is doing to give themselves one edge, one step above. Do your people coach the leads through the call, or are they pitching and giving too much information over the phone? What I mean by coaching through the call is directing the conversation and qualifying the lead with the information that practice needs to secure a patient. Most people that call in, now I know I've got everything from chiropractors to cosmetic dentistry to IVF on here. Most of my examples are going to be leaning towards the plastic cosmetic surgeons. That's what I deal the majority with. You can apply this into your world too. Most people, when they're calling in for a plastic or cosmetic procedure, they haven't had one done ever before, or they've only had one or two done. They don't know what to ask. They don't know what to ask. They don't know what direction to take the call. Your staff is taking 10, 15, 20 of these calls a day, some of them even more. You know what you need. You know how to coach the client through. And I'll get into that here in a little more detail as we move forward. Now, this is not designed to beat the person up over the phone that's answering the calls. What this is designed to do is to give everybody, review what we're doing and improve upon what we're doing. But these are the 7 deadly sins that I see in customer service working right here with PracticeDock and LocatedDock. Allowing an incoming call to go to voicemail during working hours. Oh, that is just, what does that say about your practice? One of the things we have a challenge with in our office is we've got an antiquated phone system, and it runs on a round robin, and if somebody gets up and goes to the bathroom, or somebody leaves and goes to lunch, and they don't put their phone on Do Not Disturb, their phone will ring, and you'll see 2 or 3 people jump up, run over, try to get that phone, because after 3 rings, it goes to the next phone. But we know how valuable each and every call is. And granted, some of them are just customer service calls, some of them are complaints, some of them could be potential clients for us, potential doctors that want to do business with us. You don't know. So we make sure that the calls do not go to voicemail during working hours. Now, one of the challenges of this, Diane's one of the ladies that was the actor on one of the calls, her and I were talking earlier today. We don't go to lunch till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the reason we don't is because everybody goes to lunch somewhere between 11 and 1, 11 and 1:30, and if you think about it, you're calling on an elective procedure, a cosmetic procedure, or a plastic procedure. You might be needing to get some tooth work done, or maybe your back hurts, you need to call a chiropractor. You can't do that during office hours. So when do? You do it during lunch. So your patients are calling during lunch and getting voicemail. Make sure that you've got your phone staffed during lunch. Not answering the phone professionally. You heard on that one call, hello. You would be surprised if you think, well, that never happens in my office. It happens for everybody from time to time, but does it happen consistently? We've got one practice that has one staff member that because they work in the back office, if their phone rings, they answer it hello. That is not professional. Or they answer the phone as they're multitasking and it doesn't come off professional. Not being present in the conversation, number 3 there. What I mean by not being present in the conversation is you hear the used to be typewriters. I'm showing dating myself. You hear the keyboard playing. You hear the calculator going. You hear the paper shuffling while I'm trying to explain my problem. Most of your patients don't call you because everything's okay. Something's not okay. So they're already on edge. And, you know, they're self-conscious about what? Their nose, their breast, they want liposuction, they got a tooth that just busted out, they're self-conscious, something's not okay. If they don't feel the person on the other end of the call being present, they'll call somebody else who will listen, who will understand. And I understand, it makes perfect sense. You've got umpteen tasks that have to be accomplished. What we can do is actually stop what we're doing when we're on the phone with a lead potential patient. Make them your undivided attention. Not creating a genuine sense of care and understanding. This is part of what I was saying earlier. The person that is answering the phone, that is just a job to them, they don't sound genuine. They don't have a sense of care and understanding for the person on the other end of the line. Like I said, the reason they're calling, something's wrong. You don't call the doctor when you're well, you call the doctor when you're sick. Not gathering all the contact information early in the conversation. As I said earlier, our phone system's a little antiquated. We have phone issues. Many of you have phone issues. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to contact that person back, even if it was a matter of picking up my cell phone and calling them back saying, look, we had a power outage, our phones went dead, whatever, but I knew this was important to you. I wanted to make sure that you were taken care of. If I don't gather that contact information, I can't load them in my database. If I can't load them in my database, they don't get my mailers, they don't get access to my Facebook. I don't have any part of post follow-up after the initial conversation. That is just valuable. Telling the patient to go to the website to get the information. This kills me, partially because I'm in the internet business. We have a directory on the internet. They find our clients on the internet through PracticeDock. We give them a special number to call. They call that number, and then the person on the other end of the line says, oh, go to the internet, get all the information. Well, they were just at the internet. The internet got them to pick up the phone and dial. They want somebody on the phone that's knowledgeable enough to deal with their situation, not send them back out to the internet. You send me back out to the internet, I'm calling 4 of your competitors immediately to find one that will handle my question over the phone without sending me back to the internet. And then lastly, of the 7 deadly sins, you'd be surprised. I've heard great conversations and phone calls actually pretty good. And they hang up. Oh, goodbye. We have free consultations, but they didn't ask for it. They did not ask, would you like to set up a consultation? Some are going to say yes. Some are going to say no. So what? Next. But if you don't ask, you don't know. Sometimes that's just that little edge that you take off the conversation. Sure, I'll set one up. The doctor does the sales. The person that handles consults does the sales. My job over the phone is to get them to sit down for a consultation. Let's go to the next slide here. Here's some additional things to consider. Many of the calls we listen to have extremely long hold times. How many times have you called the Department of Motor Vehicles or the post office or the IRS or one of your government facilities and you sit on hold? How does that make you feel? And is that what you want to put your potential patients through? The person on the phone could be a $5,000 procedure. I have to look at every incoming call as that. Answering services are not, this is another problem we run into. Answering services are not trained on how to handle the practice calls. Many of you out there have after hours answering services. What I would suggest you do is call your answering service after hours to listen to them. If you're not pleased with how your calls are being handled, change answering services. Find a company that will be calm, genuine, understanding. Many of these answering services, they're used to taking after-hours calls for doctors that handle ER. They're very abrupt, they're very quick. If that's not how you want your practice to be handled and your patients to be handled, stop using them, go find somebody else. This is something that is just, it's amazing to me. More and more men are starting to call for various procedures. This was so sad and so painful in our office, and it ties into the next one down. Had a gentleman, he was in a rural part of Virginia, if I remember, called a practice, and he was wanting male breast reduction. And he was pretty reserved, pretty refined. He's obviously not okay with this situation. And he calls into the practice, and he said, I'd like to inquire on male breast reduction. And the lady on the phone started laughing. Kills the call. It was a nervous laugh because she's not used to, most of the people that call plastic cosmetic surgeons are female. This is a male calling. But he's just as not okay with his breast as a female is not okay with her breast. This poor guy, he'll never call it back. Why would he? He felt so uncomfortable. And that could be true with anybody in your office about certain procedures. You know, the mommy makeovers, the Brazilian butt lifts, the penile implants, the vaginoplasty, all that stuff. If you've got somebody in the office that can't talk about that, probably shouldn't be answering the phone. Those are just procedures. Those are medical procedures that need to be done. Okay? You want to show a sense of genuine concern. And if the giggles and laughters for somebody that's not okay on the phone will kill any opportunity for revenue. Quoting prices over the phone versus ranges is a death sentence for the lead. This one is tough because most people that call in, they don't know what to ask. And when you don't know what to ask, you ask about price. This goes back to coaching the call. Most people that call in, yes, they are concerned about price, but they're more concerned about the quality of the work that's done. Any price isn't good if the quality of the work's not done. So how do you relay that to a client who just doesn't know what to ask for except for price? And you'd be surprised, rhinoplasty is $4,000. Well, how would you know that without a consultation to see what their nose looks like, to see if they actually have any cartilage in their nose? You know, how can you quote a price? Now, I can quote a range. We've done rhinoplasty on people for as low as this, and sometimes it gets up into this. You know, but without a consultation, it's going to be hard to give you a number that you can go to the bank on and that we can go to the bank on. Most of the time when we quote over the phone, we find out that's not the real price. What's more important is, will we be able to get done what you need to be content with your nose? But you've got to walk and talk them through that in conversation. If the person answering the phone can't take them there, then maybe we need some training. The other thing here, this falls into the same thing with prices. The only thing you can sell over the phone is consultation. That's it. What I can sell over the phone without the physiology and without them being able, the doctor to be able to see what he or she has to do in the procedure is a consultation. See, they may not qualify. We may be able to find that out over the phone, but we have a much better opportunity to find out if they qualify or don't qualify in a consultation. There's with plastic cosmetic surgeons, there's issues about smoking, how long they've stopped smoking. There's weight issues. There's looking at what the doctor has to work with, and see, this also helps settle unrealistic expectations, as I talked about at the beginning. Julia Childs will never look like Julia Roberts, regardless how many procedures she has done. That's something that the doctor can actually work with over the phone, or can work with in the consultation. You start dealing with that over the phone, and you're pushing somebody away that actually could be revenue into the practice. Now, this last one, leads don't age like a fine wine that age like bananas. I was a sales trainer for years with a national organization, what I have found when I bring this to this industry, this is so true. We have part of the PracticeDock backend on the PracticeDock side is we can see how quickly our clients open their leads. Now, there's a study I saw recently in the Harvard Business Journal. It was a study by a couple of universities that were pooling their time together to look at the response time of a lead versus actually being able to get in contact with the person. If you contact a lead within the first 5 minutes of receiving it, i.e., all the phone lines were busy, they went to voicemail. Could be an internet lead coming in, okay? We're getting that stuff in real time in most cases, and a lot of companies have that ability to give you that lead in real time. If they fill out the lead form on PracticeDock, we send it right out to you. You are 100 times more likely to get in touch with that person within the first 5 minutes of receiving that lead, receiving that voicemail, calling them right back, okay, versus 30 minutes. 100 times more likely to get them in 5 minutes. In 30 minutes, they're on to something else. I'm married with 3 children. We are running so heavy. If you don't catch me in 5 minutes, you may catch me in 2 days. Between practices and school events and games and all that, people are busy. Doesn't mean they don't have problems that don't need fixed. That's why they called you to begin with. They weren't able to get you. How quickly am I going to respond back to them? Now, even within the first 5 minutes, you're 36 times more likely to qualify them by calling them back in the first 5 minutes as opposed to waiting 30 minutes. Now, why is this so? Well, look about it this way. You call back within the first 5 minutes, I'm on my computer, I gave you my contact information. Within 5 minutes, boom, I'm still there. I'm actually where I need to be. That's perfect for you as the practice. The other thing is I looked up rhinoplasty. I filled out a form for the doctor, and within 5 minutes, rhinoplasty is still on my mind. In 30 minutes, I've had 3 catastrophes in the house. I kicked the dog by accident, and I'm off onto something else and in the car on the way to go get the milk that we forgot to get. Then you have to take me back to where I was. Let me ask you this. You wait 2 days to contact the lead? Do you remember what you Googled 2 days ago? Why should these people? Now, think about the wow factor. I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about my nose, I'm thinking about the tooth that's decaying. I got a pain in my back right now that I think if I could get adjusted would make a difference. And within 5 minutes after filling something out online or placing a phone call and leaving a voice message, I get a call back. What's the wow factor to that? Does that leave an impression that you care? Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And it's only going to make you money. In summary, a lead's a lead, a lead. No, don't prejudge leads. The reason I say that, none of us have a crystal ball. I used to sell advertising to hotels, casinos, and I traveled Mississippi, Louisiana, and East Texas, running the highways, contacting hotels. There wasn't any casinos back then. I'm showing a little age there. There was a hotel in Meridian, Mississippi. Some of you may be familiar with Meridian up in the upper part of the state. And I would not contact that hotel. The reason I wouldn't is its curb appeal. It looked kind of trashy. I didn't want to put that hotel in my publication. And I was afraid they would buy from me. I had never been in it, but I drove by. 2.5 years I drove by this place. Meantime, I'm working all the way out to Dallas and all the way out, and then back down to San Antonio and cutting across through Houston and running through Louisiana, working Ocean Springs, Mississippi, and Gulfport and all that. There's 4 hotels down in Gulfport. I want these guys bad. The casinos were just now starting to buy up properties and build down there, and I knew I could produce a lot of heads and beds down there on the Gulf Coast. I could not find anybody to talk to. Owner's not here. The owner's not here. I had a bad month. I needed a sale. I was up in northern Mississippi. I whip into this hotel that I'd been driving by for 2.5 years. The place was gorgeous inside. The outside needed all redone. But what was more important? That was the owner of the 4 hotels down in Gulfport, Mississippi. He says, look, I'm not going to put this property in. This property, I've got this one right where I want it. I need the traffic down on those 4 properties. I've been waiting for somebody from your office to stop by. Never had the time or never thought to call. I just knew somebody would eventually be here. I missed an $86,000 sale because I prejudged that lead. What a lesson to learn. What a lesson to learn. I've talked about this one. The faster the response time to the lead, the higher the percentage. Anytime I contact somebody, I'm watching. I may not be aggressively looking at my watch. I'm seeing how much time they call me back. I call somebody I call a plumber. I call an auto repairman. I call some service that I need. If they don't call me back in a day, they're out the door. They don't care. Well, why are doctors' offices any different? There are no bad leads. There's only bad salespeople. This is tough in this arena. This is more hardcore sales. But what I mean by that in this arena is people that are getting elective procedures done, talk to people that are getting elective procedures done. People that do a lot of cosmetic and plastic surgery, or even consider it, talk to people that do plastic cosmetic surgery. I don't know at this point if they're going to qualify or not. But if they don't qualify for financial reasons, for weight reasons, for whatever reason, I can ask them, do you know somebody that does? If I treated them to where they felt that I cared and that we were genuine, they'll give me somebody to contact. They'll have somebody contact our office. View every lead as a $5,000 procedure and treat them as so. That's a tough one to get the staff to work with unless you're in charge of revenue. But if I could treat every call that came in the door as a $5,000 procedure, do you think my phone conversations would be different than the ones that are currently happening in the office now? Treat every lead the way you would like to be treated. Probably the best example of that, there's a gentleman, Clark Howard show, television on HNL on CNN, and then he has a syndicated radio talk show. Clark Howard is the most genuine, sincere person that I think I've ever heard in public media. He never has a problem having people call in because they trust him. They feel comfortable with him. He will not laugh at their situation. He will try to help them find a way out of their situation. Typically, they don't call him when things are good. They call him when they've been scammed. They've called him when they're unclear about, is this a scam? Is this something can my bank do this to me? I mean, they're calling him because they trust him. If I can leave that sense with people, there's nothing better than feeling like I've been understood and with consideration. Being considerate and being understood. The worst thing can happen is I'm trying to explain my challenge and somebody doesn't get it. You know how frustrating it is? For any of you who got kids, you understand that one. They don't understand. And it frustrates you. I've told you 18 times, do not leave your shoes there. What do? They leave them there again. I get frustrated. Am I not being understood? Am I not putting it out there correctly? I have to do self-evaluation on that as well as looking at the children. Let's see here. Let's go to this here. In summary, if you want to have a great reputation in the community and appear to be in a whole different class than your competition, the rules are pretty simple. Be genuine with their concerns and needs. Be respectful and professional. Be prompt. Return phone calls, leads, getting them answers. Help them with the decision towards a consultation. People have to be coached. They're already calling you. They're not comfortable about their situation, and now somebody's got to look at it. Somebody's got to deal with it. They don't know you. You're not their everyday doctor. because their everyday doctor doesn't do this. Give them the undivided attention they deserve. I understand that you've got other things going on in the office, but when that phone is picked up, I need to give that person on the other end the undivided attention they deserve. In turn, your practice will make more money, you'll have more referrals, you're going to have less financial stress in the office, and you're going to be able to create an office-wide culture of caring and quality service. Jennifer had told everybody that we were going to have a special offer at the end of this. I'm actually going to add to this special offer. You may not be a client of ours, and that's fine, but if you think there's value in having your calls tracked, I'm going to offer call tracking services to everybody on this call. $500 a year, we will assign you a unique number. Now, what that can actually do for you, and we've not explained this to anybody, you may have billboard advertising. Wouldn't it be nice to assign a phone number to your billboard advertising and use that phone number, and every time a call came in, you would know it came from your billboard. But not only that, you'd be able to have it recorded, to use it for training, to make sure that you're getting all the information from the people that are calling in. Maybe you've got television commercials and you want to assign them a number. You may have several different newspapers or several different magazines, or as a marketing person, you want to see if your dollar's being spent properly. For $500, that's the best $42 a month you're going to spend, because you're going to be able to use it for training, you're going to be able to use it for gathering information, and you're also going to be able to use it to see if your marketing dollar's being spent. If you find out that that billboard's not working, shut it down, take that money, go spend it somewhere else, and assign that call tracking number to that. To me, I think that's huge. We're going to offer call tracking free for anybody that wants to sign up with a one-year agreement in a featured listing on PracticeDock.com before February 28th. Okay? Now, what that's going to do, you're going to be able to capture all inbound calls, you're going to be able to train your staff, and you're going to be able to measure the advertising methods. Thank each and every one of you so much for taking this time. We had over 623 practices across the country sign up for this. Obviously, this is something that people needed, people wanted to hear. I hope that I was able to do you a service. And thanks again for your time.